All right, guys, just about time to get started. I think this might be the biggest broadcast we've had yet. This is pretty amazing. And we've got, like I said earlier, we've got Kevin Kolar in here. He's our brand designer extraordinaire, and he's from the Netherlands.
Extraordinaire.
Extraordinaire. Extra extraordinaire.
All right.
And yeah, you can see actually he whipped up the broadcast graphic that we posted on Twitter yesterday. So that's all his work, 100% original. And there's a lot of movement in here, so we'll let people get settled in probably for another couple minutes before we really jump into it. If you guys have questions, I'm going to go through a few things here. What I like to do with these broadcasts, oh my goodness, who is doing that? That was totally unnecessary, whoever did that.
What the fuck?
I don't know. Someone was spamming entering and leaving. I wonder if you can turn off the... does anyone know if you can turn off the notification for people going into channels? Bear Grimm, can you disable that like globally, or is it just at the account level? Okay. Andy, all the Q&A usually happens in general.
I think we're ready now.
You want to go ahead? All right. Yeah, Eric, so what we're going to do with this is we're recording it right now, and eventually we're going to go ahead and post that along with some meeting minutes. I'll probably ask Gabriel to make up some kind of minutes for us so you guys can get kind of like a summary. All right, so first things first, we'll get some of the boring stuff out. The core wallet update is almost done. One of the things we're going to do with that is rebrand it so that it matches the new brand that Kevin has put together for us. And that's got the OpenSSL updates. We talked about this last time, but I'm just going to go over it really quick. And it also has things like, what do you call it? TX data and checkpoints, which just makes sure that it makes it harder for a fork to occur in the future. So those things are just about done. We've been testing that for a couple weeks now. I have it running on one of the seed nodes I think is using it right now. And so we're pretty much good to go with that. So all we got to do is get the rebranding done and get that pushed out. So it'd be nice to have that done end of this coming week and have that out. That's a quick update on that. Quick update on, you know me, I always have to talk about the bot for a little bit. Quick update on the bot. Now you can only post in spam, and it will allow you to get responses in spam. But if you post in any other channel, it will delete it and then send you a PM. So that's kind of a nice update. I'm noticing a lot of more conversation in the channels, which is really good. So now that we got that out of the way, I think probably the two things I want to talk about today is the diff adjustment. And the next thing is some UI mockups that Kevin has put together that I really want to share with you guys. So we'll get through the diff adjustment first and then talk about the UI mockups. And if you guys want to start throwing questions in general, I like to kind of pick away at them as I'm talking. So it just works. It seems to work that way. So now's a good time to throw some questions. And also I'm sure you'll have some as we go along here. All right. So we all know that the diff adjustment situation has been pretty bad for the last couple of weeks. For those of you who aren't familiar, essentially what happens is there's this line of profitability. There's kind of like this, you could draw it out on a graph, but essentially what it is at a certain price and difficulty, we are profitable. And under that, we're not profitable. And what's happened is we were above that at one point, and a lot of people came on, a lot of hash rate came on, and the difficulty adjusts every 2016 blocks. So after those 2016 blocks finish, it looks at the hash rate over the entire 2016 blocks and then uses that to calculate the next difficulty. So what happens is we're profitable. Lots of people hop on. Somebody posted today that they had us set up an awesome miner, so it was really easy for them to see when that happened. So lots of people hop on, hash rate goes up, people make a ton of money, and then when the difficulty switches over, then all of a sudden we're below the profitability curve. And then what happens is everybody leaves. And when they leave, the people who are left over are stuck knocking away these high difficulty blocks at a low profitability. And then when that's over, the difficulty drops, and then all of a sudden we're way above that profitability line. So what ends up happening is you get something called undamped oscillation, where you have basically swinging between super profitability, like 2 to 3 times what to mine, down to not very profitable, which can be as low as 1/2 to 1/3 of what to mine, depending on the day. So a common theme in general, and the whole server actually, is to ask us to change the difficulty method. Now, what I had said previously is essentially this. The reason we're using Bitcoin Core for Pigeon Coin is because it's the only one that's got 9 years of battle-hardened security built into it. And I know that the Bitcoin developers have put tons of effort into the difficulty adjustment method to make sure that it's solid for a top 10 coin. And the reason I know that is because it's never failed. I think there was one problem, I can't remember the exact date. They had one problem, I think it was 2011, but that was patched, and that's the only actual security problem they've had the whole time. And that's been patched and tested for the last, 5 to 6 years, 6 to 7 years. So that's kind of been my stance on difficulty. Essentially, what I'm saying is when we're bigger, we won't have this problem. And you can see that in Ravencoin. They've got enough base hash rate that their block time doesn't really fluctuate more than 50% or so, while our block time is fluctuating like 600%. And the whole goal of difficulty is to keep the block time consistent. So that's the difficulty algorithm is a control function to control block time, and that's affected by hash rate and difficulty. So when I started looking into it, I posted a picture. In here. Maybe I can find it. I'm going to look for it really quick. So this is data that I pulled off of one of our. This is data I pulled off of the system that we use to collect data for the API, which then feeds the website and the bot and stuff like that. So what you can see here is actually really fascinating. There's no X scale, but that it is in time domain. So what you can see is that the difficulty was dropping slowly and steadily, which is good. There's nothing wrong with that. But then we went below a certain point, and all of a sudden a bunch of hash rate came on. And when that hash rate came on, all of a sudden we got through those blocks really quickly, and then the difficulty rose and the hash rate left. And then when that switched over, this is like we're talking about before, difficulty dropped, hash rate came on. But what's really fascinating about this is you can see that the period for the 2016 blocks is increasing on high difficulty and decreasing on low difficulty. And from a control standpoint, that's really bad. Like, there's no way to sugarcoat that. I saw that and I was like, holy shit, this is a problem. Now, the problem is that you have to find a solution, right? And the solution that I had originally proposed was to go with what I call market solution, which is essentially to push hard on marketing, which we're just about coming to that phase. We were talking about it just yesterday. We're just about ready to start pushing hard on marketing. And the idea is that you get more people, more core miners believing in the coin, and then the problem goes away. So that's what I was originally pushing for. When I saw this data, I started to get a little bit worried that we were going to continue to have this problem. And Todd and I spent a lot of time looking at different algorithms, different difficulty algorithms. Hang on, I got to turn off my notifications because this is crazy. 1 second. All right. Okay, so I got that fixed. So Todd and I went and looked at a bunch of different difficulty algorithms. We looked at, there's this guy named Lowy12. He's got a GitHub repository, which is really fascinating. There's no code in it. There's just a bunch of issues. And you can see him talking about different algorithms. I'll post that here for those of you who are morbidly curious. Of course, now I'm having trouble finding it. Okay, here we go. It's Zawi 12. Okay, so there's this guy named Zawi 12. He kind of at like an academic level works on difficulty algorithms. And is it one person who's doing it? Okay. So Zawi 12, he works on difficulty algorithms at kind of like an academic level. And his GitHub is actually really fascinating. It's worth checking out if this stuff interests you. But the short version is he has developed a bunch of algorithms, which admittedly, to the best of my knowledge, hasn't had a lot of test time on mainnets. But we started talking to him because he had some fascinating ideas. One of them is EMA, which is the exponential moving average. And the other one is LWMA, which is the linearly weighted moving average. And some of you guys who have done trading a lot, where you can set up Bollinger bars and moving averages, you can set in some, like on Binance and stuff like that, you can set an LWMA or an EWMA, and that kind of gives you a moving average for the graph data. So he took some of those ideas and applied them to difficulty adjustment. Now, Todd and I, one of the coins that supposedly uses this is Bitcoin Gold, but they, I think, are only using it on their testnet right now. And the next one that I was most familiar with was, well, to be fair, most of the coins that are running this I'm not really familiar with, but the next one that was on the Bitcoin source, because that's the most important thing, most of them are on the Monero source, but the Bitcoin source ones running LWMA are Bitcoin Gold on their testnet and Bitcoin Candy. But most of the coins are really small, and it was really clear to me that the difficulty adjustment methods that he developed were for small coins, like coins where one single person could do a 20x hash rate attack or a 10x hash rate attack. So essentially, Todd and I took their implementation of LWMA and put it on the testnet. And we tried it out with a few different parameters, and it was just producing this really awful sawtooth pattern that would have just been horribly detrimental to the coin. And after talking to a few people who were using it and the reasons why they chose it, it became clear to me that it was meant to solve a problem for a certain type of coin, and we're not that type of coin. And we looked at doing other things like something simple like lowering the block or lowering the retarget to, I don't know, like 60 blocks, or one of the numbers I came up with was 1440 because it's 24 hours. That was interesting to me. And that would have been simple enough to do with a timed fork. So what you do is you set up the core to wait for a certain block height, and then everybody switches their method. But everywhere we looked, what it all came down to is that the solutions were sketchy. They were really, really sketchy. And as much as I hate the difficulty situation, and as much as I hate hearing people complain about it in general, and as much as I recognize that when looking at the data for the last 2 weeks is a problem, I just kept coming back to the point where it's just not worth changing it. So we spent a good amount of time on it. I think we spent 5 to 6 days full time, Todd and I, working on this thing. And every single road led back to just don't change it. So that's where we're at. I know it's going to make some people unhappy. I know some people are going to be happy, but that's essentially where we got to with the difficulty adjustment. So for now, that's the final word. It hasn't really changed, but I did want you to know that we spent the time on it. We did our due diligence. And from here on out, it's just simple. We're pushing for the market solution, which is getting more core miners, and that will just have to happen with time. Now, strangely enough, luckily enough, After this last diff change, I haven't checked it in the last hour, but it seems like more people are staying on. So we'll see what happens here in the next couple weeks, but it seems like, looking at it now, that the problem is getting better. So that's kind of a plus. But the big plus here is we're not compromising security because of a problem we've been having for the last couple weeks. So again, I recognize it's a problem. We looked into it. All roads pointed to don't change it, and so we're not going to change it. We're going to push for more core miners. All right, I'm going to check general to see if we have any questions or comments before we go on to the next thing. Sounds like some people are having problems with audio in Discord. If you're having problems, let me know. If this broadcast doesn't work for people, then we might have to switch to another platform. For what it's worth, I think this is the biggest the broadcast ever been. Justin asks, what's that cap coin limit on Pigeon coin? The max supply, which is in, I think it's 4 to 8 years, is 21 billion. Rick Flair's asking when the white paper is coming out. We are kind of wrapping that into our website, and I almost released it today, but then I just decided that it wasn't ready yet. After looking at it, there's a few more things that we need to change. So basically, I almost released it today, but we're going to wait just a little bit longer to get that released. And so that'll be kind of like the website, roadmap, white paper, whatever you guys want to call it, all wrapped into one. Is Pigeon going to have the same asset transferring features as Raven? No, definitely not. Raven is doing something completely different from us. For those that aren't familiar, could you please summarize best compelling use case for Pigeon? So we're doing something kind of a little bit different for the cryptocurrency world. So I guess I'll just try to summarize it quickly. The goal here is to make a social media network that does not need advertising or premium accounts. The only one who does that right now effectively is Telegram, and they're not really a social network. They're just like a messaging platform. And the only way they're able to do that is because they got a huge donation up front, and they've basically just been pissing that money away for the last however many months or years. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a social network who is funded by the pool that we have put together, or that we are putting together, TerraHash pool. That pool isn't going to charge more than 1%. We pretty much got that set in stone. I think 1% is fair. And the coin is Pigeon coin. It's a proof of work coin. And the pool is going to be built in such a way that it's going to be a no-brainer to use it over all the other pools. And so what's going to happen is the people who mining our coin, they aren't going to be paying any extra, but their activity, their mining on our pool is going to give us the revenue we need to run a social media network without having to sell ads, sell data, or have premium users. And so that's kind of what we're doing. We're using the proof of work Pigeon coin as with a pool as the funding mechanism to replace the existing funding mechanisms that social networks use. And then that social network is going to have payments built in, and the social network itself will be marketed towards everyday users. It won't be marketed towards cryptocurrency users. And the goal there is to get everyday users onto a platform that has easy crypto payments built into it. And it will just work seamlessly and easily, and they'll be able to transact with it without having to dive into the crazy world that is crypto. Because I think we can all agree that the barrier to entry for crypto is really high for people who don't want to spend the time learning it. And there's a lot of interest in it. But really, the overarching goal here is to create a social network that doesn't need ad revenue to be able to exist. And in that way, we can break away from the age-old model of having to collect people's personal data and sell it and use it to manipulate them basically creating the user into the product, which I think is absolutely horrible. So that's essentially the problem we're trying to solve, and that's more or less how we're going to do it. All right, let me look at what other questions we have. What does it take to get listed on What to Mine? Do I have this on here? All right, so that's what you need to get listed on What to Mine. Do we have a name for the social network? It's probably going to be Pigeon. What is the network hash rate required to make that 1% fee a large enough share to cover operating expenses? Or what would the price point of the coin where the 1% would be enough? Okay, so I did some napkin math the other day, and if we had 1 terahash on the pool, we'd be pulling in about $66 million a year. And that is enough to sustain any social media network in the beginning for sure. And I don't think we're that far away from 1 terahash on the pool. Now, the pool we have right now, there's nothing special about it, but the pool we're working on, terahash pool, that is what is going to be supporting the network. Okay, what do we got? Can we expect price increase in 3 to 4 months, at least $1? I don't like to talk about price, but I will tell you right now that I would not be here if I didn't think the price was going to be going up. Because if the price doesn't go up, then I won't be able to build the social network, so on and so forth. Everything feeds off of itself. Did I miss a stream? No, you did not miss a stream, but apparently it's not working for some people, so we're going to go ahead and post that up later. Larry Bird is slinging memes. That's pretty funny.
Oh, so nice.
You can always count on Larry Bird, can't you? Larry Bird, there's only one problem. You used the wrong brand there, my friend. And you got Pigeon Coin and Camel Case. All right, you guys, any questions before we go on to the UI mockups, which I'm super excited to show you guys? That's really why I'm here. I just want you to see the UI mockups. The other stuff is, who cares? How will this coin be used on social media? It won't be an upvote system like Steemit. That's not going to happen. It will literally just be payments. It'll be a social media platform that's got crypto payments built in, and those crypto payments are going to be Pigeon Coin.
I think a lot of questions will be answered when they see the UI.
All right, that's a good idea. Kevin, why don't you throw up the UI? So Kevin's working on some mock-ups for the desktop version, but what's interesting here is you can get an idea of what the mobile version might look like if you kind of split each frame up into 3 pieces. I don't know about you guys, but when I saw these, I was just like amazed. Like, I want to use that right now, basically. And I'm kind of pissed that it's not done yet. Yeah, it's really clean. So for those of you who aren't, for those of you who are listening to the broadcast, what we have here is Kevin just posted a couple of UI mockups. They're really clean, kind of flat, kind of halfway between flat and material design type layouts. And it's like a desktop wallet, or it's a desktop social media app that has 3 sections. On the left, it's got kind of like a user list, like who's online kind of thing. In the middle, it's got a wallet, and then on the right, it's got like a chat. It's got really nice blue gradients. Everything's really pleasing. It's laid out really well. And what's amazing to me, you guys, is this is like a first draft.
Yeah, just the first one.
It's a first draft, and it's already fucking incredible. So our team has been brushing up on React for development. I don't know how many devs we have in here, but we're going pretty heavy on React for both mobile and web platforms. And when Kevin posted this up, I was like, oh, I know, like, I'm really excited to make all of these little components because they're all so beautiful and functional. I think Kevin would agree that the functional stuff happens to be really beautiful.
It's so simple, clean, and that's what we need. Yeah,
definitely huge fan of things that are simple and just work effortlessly, and that's what I see when I look at this. CryptoHost, that is a layout in, what is that, Adobe XD? Is that right?
Yeah, it's XD.
And the nice thing about this layout is we can start porting everything over to React pretty quick. So I'm also thinking that I might want to use some of these design elements for the pool system that we're putting together, Terahash pool. Kevin, would you post up that icon pack that you had done?
All right.
Goose is asking, looks like messaging between two users is a thing. Will people be able to start their own group chats? That's actually a really good question. I was thinking about that today. And I don't have an answer for group chats now, but I definitely can say that there will be messaging between actually, hold on. Let me think about what you just said again. There will definitely be messaging between two people. I would like to see group chats, definitely. I think that's really important. And then there will absolutely be a public posting feature. And people keep asking what the name of the app network is. It's probably just going to be called Pigeon. This app will be targeted to the general public. Goose says, so pitch me the details will become a thing. I mean, it could become a thing. We'll have to see how people want to interact with it in that way. Add a button. This Nivo1972 says, add a button to send crypto called Feed Me. It's pretty funny. It can just be like breadcrumbs.
Feed me.
Feed me.
Yeah, we should.
It's pretty funny. Kevin, can you post the UI pictures in general? They got lost in text.
I'm searching for it. Oh, there it is.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So this is one of the icon packs that Kevin was working on. And this is kind of just showing you guys a general idea of what the brand assets are starting to look like. And you can see a bunch of those icons were used in the UI mockups that he posted. And Kevin, I wouldn't mind if you posted one of those again, just so people can connect them.
I will.
The buildings on the left are just kind of like an aesthetic backdrop that helps place us as like urban communication type thing. Yeah, so if you just saw that icon pack and you look at the UI that Kevin just posted again, you can see that they're incorporated in there. And the thing with design, especially the icons, you can see them on paper and be like, okay, they look okay, they look good, or they look bad or whatever. But it's when you put them in use that you figure out how good they are. And I know I said it earlier, but seeing those icons in this first draft just like blew me away. They work really, really well. Goose asked me, will messages between two users be kept encrypted private? And the answer to that is private messages should have end-to-end encryption, in my opinion. Desk Pro asked, is Pigeon based on Bitcoin algo like Ravencoin? I think their broadcast said something about that last week. We are on Bitcoin Core, but we are using X16S Shuffle for our proof of work algorithm. And X16S Shuffle uses 16 algorithms that are kind of randomized by the previous block hash. But we're different from X16R because instead of calling them, this is kind of hard to do over voice, but instead of calling them randomly from a stack where some can repeat, what we do is we use the randomness to shuffle a collection of 16 so none of them repeat. And the result is that the power and hash rate consistency is like a lot better. How do you handle huge messaging traffic? Well, the answer to that question is with money. X16S was debuted on Pigeon Coin. Nordak asked, how you decentralize the social network servers? This is where we're a little bit different than a lot of crypto projects out there right now. The coin is always going to be decentralized. Let me say that again. The coin is always going to be decentralized, but the social network itself will be run by the Pigeon Coin team.
VR, AR integration.
Yeah. Any thoughts on virtual reality or augmented reality integration in the future? Honestly, I had not even thought about it. But I'm sure if we get to the point where that's a question, we'll have some person on the team who just loves doing that stuff and will want to take it on. But honestly, I haven't even thought about it. Hardman's asking, will there be possibilities of third parties? I think he's asking, will there be possibilities of third-party apps for the chat and social network? And my take on this, first of all, my first answer is that I haven't thought about that. And it's actually a really good question. Are you asking me because of Telegram? Is that what you're asking me? Because they're kind of famous for allowing people to do that. Okay, all the questions are flying out. Hardman, my answer today is I haven't even thought about that. The question of third parties being able to access the social network, I had not even considered it. That's a really good question. Goose says, how is messaging possible using Bitcore? Has an application layer been added to facilitate this added functionality? What we're doing is we're using Bitcore for the currency, and then we're going to have our own system for the social network, and the two are going to live in symbiosis. Is that the right word?
I never heard of the symbiosis.
Symbiosis. The two will live happily together in a wonderful and glorious marriage. How's that? Will there be Mr. Dinky, who appears to have the VLC icon, which is kind of cool. Will there be any Pigeon token burn by any mechanism in your platform? Blah, blah, blah. And no, there will not be any kind of token burn, or actually coin burn, because we're not a token, we're a proof of work coin. People are telling me that it's a symbiotic relationship. But there's a lot of different types of symbiosis, right? I think what we're looking for is mutualistic symbiosis, but I could be wrong. How will you deal with the problem of storage? The data will have to be kept somewhere. Won't the data have to be kept somewhere? Yeah, if we're doing it on our own servers, the data will have to be kept somewhere, but that's why we're really keen on the data burn, because if we have a global data burn that is provable, then, and also we're not selling anything, and also we're not we're not actively selling data, then those two things together, I believe our customers will have a reasonable sense of security from that. All right. Parsifal is asking, what kind of paid content is planned? And I'm not sure what he's asking about. So Parsifal, if you want to ask me again in another way, maybe I can answer. When will Pigeon be listed on CoinMarketCap? Simple answer to that. CoinMarketCap will happen when we have $100,000 US dollars daily volume on all exchanges. NinjaBit says, wow, man, there's a lot of questions in here. NinjaBit says, what will you do if FPGA or ASIC mining setups figure out how to start smashing the X16S coins like ASICs will do to Equihash? So ASICs clearly are bad for decentralization, and our goal here is to keep the coin decentralized. So if an ASIC came out tomorrow for Pigeon coin, we'd have to fork the algo for sure. Now, FPGAs, on the other hand, we were talking about this in general the other day. A lot of people are taking the stance that FPGAs are the future of home mining. And it's so early for me to I can't tell you that that's my personal opinion, but that is an opinion that is starting to come out in the mining community, which I think is fascinating. I would love to build an FPGA rig personally, and because this, guys, I started out as a small miner, and I was going to start working on a mining farm at scale. Had investment ready to go, and the market kind of tanked, and I told my investor that I wanted to wait to see how that turned out. And then during that time, I decided to launch Pigeon Coin and put that other project on ice. So that's my background, is definitely from mining. And so for me personally, I would love to build an FPGA rig, especially the Xilinx ones that you can run on risers. Like, I think that's awesome. But only time will tell if FPGAs provide decentralization or not. Because I think we can pretty much agree that GPUs provide a reasonable amount of decentralization. That's kind of a roundabout answer. How much Pigeon will it cost to use the app, send messages, etc.? So this is a question from Goose, and my answer is I would like it to not cost any Pigeon. Anyone should be able to use the Pigeon network without even touching the cryptocurrency. But it needs to be available for use and provided as an option for payments. To be honest with you, I don't think we would ever put fiat currency on there. I have absolutely no plans to put fiat currency on there. So it would only be, the only payments that would happen would be in Pigeon coin. And then, of course, that creates a use for the coin. That creates a reason for people to mine it. We've got the pool that people will want to use. So then we get the revenue, and then that revenue goes into building a social network, which builds more use for the coin, so on and so forth. So it's definitely I don't know what you'd call that, a feedback. It's like an economic feedback mechanism. Any other exchanges planned? Mo asks, are any other exchanges planned? We've got a huge list of exchanges that we want to do, but we cannot jump the gun. Looking back on the Crypto Bridge launch, I think that happened a little prematurely. So we're taking things a little bit slower with our upcoming exchanges. Someone says, thank God you are not doing master nodes. Yeah, I fucking hate master nodes. I'll just tell you that right now. Sorry for the language. Someone was saying that they're worried about FPGAs. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with the FPGAs. It's just one of those things we have to pay attention to. I think it's gonna be pretty obvious in the next year or so if they provide decentralization or not. Now, some people are going to disagree with me, but I do think that FPGAs flooding the market, if that happens, I think that could be really good because in a way, it gets rid of ASICs. And you're going to have to bear with me a little bit because I need to spend a little more time on this before I can have like a really strong opinion on this. This is just something I've been thinking about. It seems to me that pretty much at this point, if an ASIC comes out, the coin's going to fork. That seems to be what people are doing. But with FPGAs, you can't really fork away from them. So if we can get FPGAs into the hands of miners, just regular miners, then anytime a coin has to fork away from an ASIC, the FPGA can follow. So in a way, FPGAs can be a foil for ASICs, for the centralization of ASICs. All right, what else we got here? Man, Goose is hammering on the questions, which is good. I'm glad you are. Let's see. Terahash Pool gives people the opportunity to choose which projects they want to support. Will that be used for future development regarding features to be added to the Pigeon app? That's a really good question. I hadn't thought about it too much. I had thought about it for the coins specifically, but that's definitely something that we need to think about. So I don't have a good answer for you today. That's the honest answer. Crypto Haas says, will there be items to buy on the app? I guess that would depend on if there's somebody who wants to sell items on the app. Andy Ware says, so you would say this is more in the social media realm like Twitter, or is it going to be more like Skype, Discord? So I see it as if Twitter and Telegram had a baby and then everything was supported by crypto payments and a mining network. Will you try and get on Nanex? We had talked about Nanex. It looks like a really interesting platform. The last time I looked, I don't think that they had a lot of volume, but maybe I'm remembering it differently. It's been almost a month since I looked at it. Is their Pigeon store open yet? You know, I know people have been asking us for swag. Maybe we should do it.
I've seen the next question is the same.
Is it?
You want to buy a Pigeon shirt?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess we can't turn down money, right, Kevin?
I think we should accept it. Always a good one.
It's kind of a no-brainer, isn't it? Maybe we should put something together. I guess, I'll tell you something. I came from headphones and e-commerce before this, and I am just so done with e-commerce. So maybe we could go ahead.
Pigeon masks, would that be something?
Yeah, we should do blue T-shirts and pigeon masks.
Yeah.
and bags of stale bread.
That's amazing.
Bags of moldy stale bread. Someone's asking if we do a community-driven contest for T-shirt design. Honestly, I probably wouldn't. I'd be like, yo, Kevin. And I can already see it now. I'd wake up the next day and he'd have something amazing for us to use. Kevin, I think your brother's giving you a hard time.
I'm a lazy bastard.
Yeah, I didn't know that he was your brother until just the other day. He's like one of the most active people in Discord.
Yeah, so enthusiastic. He's my fan.
Yeah, he's your biggest fan. So CryptoHouse is following up with me. He says, what I mean is that maybe it would be a good idea to propose services against Pigeon Coin, like storing messages for more than 30 days. I'm not really sure what you're getting at. Are you talking about like a person could pay in Pigeon Coin to change the rules on the network? That's an interesting idea. I'll be honest with you, I hate the freemium model, the in-app purchase model. I think it's awful. My goal here would be to create a social network that has some really simple rules that everybody understands, that just allows them to interact freely on it without essentially their data getting used to influence them. That's really the end goal, and there's a lot of ways to do it. Andy Ware is asking, is there a way to accumulate coins? This is a really great question, by the way. Is there a way to accumulate coins without having to deal with mining and exchange purchases? I think that will be important for people who aren't into all this as an investment. So there's one service that solves this problem, and a lot of people like to hate on them, and I get why, but that's, oh geez, I just had a brain fart. That's the people who run, Coinbase. Coinbase is the one that's really solved that problem. I would like to solve it in a similar way, but on our own system.
There we go again.
I think this dude just has like Photoshop plugged into his left arm.
I think so.
Oh, we got someone coming in here fucking shit up. Pigeon Coin, who the fuck thinks this kind of shit up? Are you guys fucking blah, blah, blah? I'm
Actually,
that's an easy answer. Ban.
Ciao.
See ya. All right, any other questions? Yeah, so that's part of where it came from, Andy. Andy says, the idea of Pigeon Coin reminds me of old age, where pigeons used to deliver mail. Not sure if that's where it came from. And yeah, that's actually where a lot of the name came from, is pigeons were used throughout history to deliver critical messages. And we'd like to do the same thing. Goose says, will pigeon purchases be made available through the app? So Goose, are you asking me if people will be able to buy Pigeon with fiat currency? So I would like to be able to offer, so again, this is getting really far out, right? I tend to only like to talk about things that I feel like we can really do right now. And that always changes, as we continue along, we gain more skills and more experience and other people who have experience, and you know how that all works. It's like any project. So that said, I in the future would like to see people be able to essentially get onto the network and they see someone wants to transact in Pigeon, but they don't have any. So they press a button and it pretty much buys whatever they need from a spot exchange. And that's exactly how Coinbase works. And so we would like to have something similar behind the scenes that is run by us. Any Ruby devs working on Pigeon Gem? Nordak, I don't think any of our team has Ruby experience. I am wondering what you would like to see in a Pigeon Gem. I use Jekyll every day and I love it. But the whole website's built on Jekyll, but I'm not like a Ruby dev. Yeah, Goose, you just nailed it. He says, okay, something similar to how Coinbase used GDAX for its backend. And that is a perfect example of the kind of model we're thinking about. Crypto Hoss 55 says, is there also a web version of the messaging service? Yes, it will be a mobile app and a web app. And also potentially a desktop app, but that is maybe the lowest priority. But we're developing the whole thing in React so that we can do like a web app, a really good web app experience, and then also a good mobile app experience. So yeah, mobile is number one, web app is number two, desktop app is number three. Somebody was actually talking about getting us on an Apple Watch, which at first I thought that was really funny. And then I thought about it for a second and I was like, I don't think there's any cryptocurrency that's got an Apple Watch app or anything like that. which it's like, at first I was like, what? That's kind of dumb. And then I was like, actually, you know what? If we're the only ones on Apple Watch, that would be amazing. And then, of course, Larry Bird's working on the Nokia development.
He's doing pretty good.
It never gets old. That's one of his original ones. We had a role for him called Nokia Dev once upon a time. Nordak says, I'd like to build a Ruby gem that lets devs integrate Pigeon payments into their Rails apps. Also, Jekyll's awesome. Jekyll is amazing. I love Jekyll. I'm working on a simple Explorer API wrapper, and we'll post to GitHub once it's ready. I would love to see that. Nordak, if you are interested in building a Ruby gem, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, that might be something I'd like to hear about. Actually, now that you're in general, and we're talking back and forth, is there an existing Ruby gem for Bitcoin that is portable to other coins? Because I know there's a couple for JavaScript, and we've been looking at those a lot. There's one other little teaser. Andy Ware is saying, I don't think there's a chat out right now that allows currency exchanges. This could be pretty big. So there's a few for fiat, but there isn't really any for crypto that I'm familiar with. Now, there's a lot of stuff that I think about and the team talks about that I don't tell you guys because it's not time. But I'll just give you a little teaser. So imagine a situation where we have a spot market with US dollars, fiat currency. So we have full liquidity between Pigeon and fiat currency, and people can get in and out of Pigeon almost instantly on the Pigeon social network. So just imagine that that's the case. Now, if you add a spot market to another currency like euro or yen or Chinese yuan and all these other currencies, and people are transacting in Pigeon on the network, then you run into a really interesting situation where you have full liquidity with essentially all of the world's fiat currencies through the network, which my understanding is that's kind of what Ripple was trying to do on the back end between banks. And we have an opportunity to do that on the front end with daily payments. So that's just something to kind of think about. All right, any other questions? Any ideas of another exchange? We would really like to get on Robinhood. We got a whole list of them. We went through them last time. I'm not going to go through them all again, but I would really like to be on Robinhood. My understanding is they were kind of out straight until sometime this summer. So we've been kind of talking to them a little bit. And then, of course, the standard exchanges other than that. But they're all on our radar. We're actively pursuing getting on them. Any news on possible partners or investors? Not yet. I'm intentionally saving those conversations for later. Where is the team based? Right now, we are kind of all over the place. Most of us are in the United States. Kevin, you're from Europe.
Yep.
And what else we got? Is there a plan for a Pigeon conference or meetup? I think that we should probably do one at some point. I live in central Maine, which is kind of far away, but I can get to the southern New Hampshire, Boston region pretty easily. So if we were to do one, it would probably be in the Boston region. All right, guys, our next steps are essentially and this isn't new. One of the things that happened is we spent a lot of time this week on the difficulty adjustment stuff, which, just to recap, it's not changing, essentially. And if you want to know more, there'll be a recording you guys can listen to the beginning of. So we spent a lot of time on that, and I would have liked to release the website this week, but we need to take a little bit more time to get that finished up. So we're back on track working on the website, had a minor diversion there. And once that is up, then we will be ready for you guys to start hammering social media, getting the word out. And Kevin's going to have all kinds of wonderful things for you guys to post around so that we can keep the brand image strong and consistent. And actually, during this whole time, Todd has been working on the pool even more. And so that's coming along. Somebody asked, is there going to be a phone app? Yes, mobile app is our number one priority for the social network. All right. Any other questions? Any new core features added to Wallet soon? Yeah, it's going to look awesome and it's going to be secure. And then we're working on the social network. Goose says, I definitely agree that using the same design elements for TerraHash as in the app would be cohesive. And yes, cohesive brand experience is a huge priority for us. Huge priority. It's fairly important for crypto projects, but it is incredibly important when you are building a brand that is going to be targeting the general public. Despro, I have never seen that term before. I'm going to look into it after the chat. It looks interesting. The thing you have to remember about Pigeon Coin is that we're interacting with people, not machines. So I don't know how much we fit into the Industry 4.0 model, but it would be foolish for us to not pay attention to it. Do you hear what I'm saying? Kevin, is there anything you want to add? I think we're about ready to wrap this up.
No. There's been some good questions. I think we'll clear them up.
All right. Okay, guys, we're going to get back to work on getting the website roadmap and all that stuff knocked out. Sorry for the diversion with the difficulty stuff, but I think it was really important. We wanted to do our due diligence, so I'm not that sorry. And really looking forward to the future here. Thank you again, everyone, for attending. I think this is the biggest one yet. And hopefully the recording bot got everything, and we will post that up shortly along with a very short summary. And thank you, Kevin, for attending. It was good to have somebody else on here.
Thank you.
So I wasn't the only one. And I hope this was useful for everybody. Let me know what you think in general. Sounds like people are generally happy, which is good. And yeah, that's what happened with that.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Keep on rocking in the free world.